So we are Cole and Maya Harrington. We've been coming to Two Rivers since 2020, but our giving journey didn't exactly start right away. We didn't start tithing regularly when we first came.
I think we kind of had our own tithing journeys before we were married and kind of did our own thing for a little bit. When we first started going to church, we kind of tithed here and there. I tithed here and there, but wasn't doing like a full 10% tithe. And then when we started coming to Two Rivers, that's when we started to really be more faithful in our tithe.
I didn't feel called to tithe in the beginning. It wasn't that I didn't feel called to tithe. I honestly was very insecure about my finances. I look back at my life before I started to tithe, and I was not in the church. I wasn't regularly attending. I had this funny feeling about money that it always seemed that once I got a big check, once I had, something that would fill my savings back up, something would go wrong with my car almost every single time. I would have a couple $1,000s in my savings account, and then every single time my car would break down 2 or 3 weeks later. And I looked at it like, oh, that's so unlucky. But when I look at it now, I truly do believe that it was actually God filling my bank account before the thing that went wrong, right? Making sure that I always had just enough to continue living my life the way I needed to, even though I was unfaithful at the time. But then fast forward, we start tithing regularly. I think the thing that's happened for me the most is that I just have a lot of confidence now in our future, right? Knowing that God has us in his hands and being faithful with the tithe and giving above has given us this feeling that we are good stewards and that we are in control. And for me, that was never, the whole story of my 20s was never having control over my finances.
Like you said, it is just a matter of, I feel like we're being good stewards. Like God has trusted us with what he's given us, and so it's all his, and you can't outgive God. So we can do our tithe, and we can go beyond our tithe now and feel like it's not like we're gonna lack anything because God's taking care of us.
For someone that's thinking about starting to tithe, about really giving up that control, just let it go. When you start to tithe, not only does something change within you to feel like you are not holding on as tightly to money, but also most times you don't miss it. God takes care of you, and that 10% is filled back up and overflows. So it's just that moment of living in confidence that God has your back. It may feel like you can't make bills today, but just having the faith that you are giving God what's his, but it always ends up coming right back to you, but multiplied. And then the most valuable thing you can do is build a relationship with God. So in that way, it's an investment that you can't quantify. You can't put a dollar value on it. So if someone is sitting there thinking like it's time for me to start tithing, but I don't know how, and I don't know how I'm going to make bills, and I don't know, I've lived that life before, and I don't anymore. I don't worry about the day-to-day any longer, and it's the fact that I have confidence that God's going to take care of us.